on that stage,
So anyway,
carried
that's
away by magic.
I,
I think what you're saying is also like what Michelangelo said about creating sculpture, is that he he finds the sculpture in the thing. It's not like he makes it. He removes all the stuff that's hiding the sculpture. That's how he looked at it.
I think so many people that I get questions that they don't know what to do. They're just trying to figure it out. And I always give them the same advice. I say, practice being excellent at something you love. It could be trivial. It could be darts. I don't care. Whatever it is, just be excellent at it. Put yourself into it.
I think you're right on target.
And
Aubrey.
you'll discover something about yourself, whatever it is. A lot of people will look to me to see if they can get a job. And my question is always the same. What are you excellent at? Because if they can show me 2 random things that they're incredible at, they're excellent at, I know that they've learned to apply their authentic self. Because you can't truly be excellent at anything without tapping into that,
Or
to that
even
aspect.
less than that, just what do you love?
Yeah.
What makes you happy?
Yeah.
What's fun?
Well, that's the great Miyamoto Musashi quote. Once you understand the way broadly, you can see it in all things.
Exactly.
That idea that there's something that you tap into, and it manifests itself in a number of different ways, in athletics and artistic, whatever it is. But what you're doing is you're tapping into the same thing, and that is excellence. You're tapping into the real thing, the way.
And then when you're on the path that's going to give you, the fruits of your destiny, so to speak, whatever it is that's that channel that's going to bring you to the ultimate higher level, you already have practice being excellent. You know how to do the work. And that's another key thing that I love about that you always go back to is just, how to do the work. You know how to take the initial steps, that one foot in front of the other to get there and to see progress and to apply yourself in that way.
Yeah, I'm definitely a believer in just doing the mundane thing. Walk into the room, sit down at the keyboard, or walk into the dojo, start to do whatever the first thing is.
It's the same thing.
Yeah. But it's just something is occurring to me as we're talking here. I haven't even thought about this in a million years, but you were talking about, Aubrey, about people that don't seem to care or don't have the enthusiasm for
The wonder
something.
and awe in the world,
And
yeah.
I can remember that I used to be, for years, I struggled like that, where I was bored with things. I was bored with myself. I was beating my brains out saying, why don't I love something? What is missing? Right. And my conclusion was that I really did have tremendous ambition and tremendous aspiration, but I had buried it under layers of fear. As if I would ever admit to myself that I wanted to be excellent at something, that would be more than I could take. Failure would be more than I could take. And so when I finally sort of admitted to myself, and actually it's in the Authentic Swing, I think, or maybe it's not, but when I admitted to myself that I did have ambition, I did want to do something, suddenly everything changed. And then enthusiasm did come, but it was fear. So I think when we're running into people that don't have enthusiasm, don't have that fire, I don't believe it's not there. I think it's buried under fear, and I think that's why great teachers, coaches, will put a young person in a position where they can exceed their expectations or their belief about themselves, where they thought they couldn't do it, and then the guy kicks them in the ass enough time they actually do it, and they go, wow, how did that happen? And then that's the spark that can then burst into flame if it's guided properly. And I see that everywhere. I'm sorry to say, in this country, it's everywhere.
Well, I'm glad that you brought up that it was you at one point and you passed it, because one of the really important things about your book, I think, is that your really objective assessment of your own life at one point in time when you were like 40 years old. You were talking about this.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah, this script that wasn't working, and you were like, what the fuck am I doing? And then how did you go from that to completely getting it together enough to write these books about getting it together, how to get it together?
How'd you get over that fear?
I think at that time, you mean the fear that I was just talking about?
Yeah, well, same thing, same question.
Yeah, how did you figure it out?
I think once I realized that there was something I wanted, that I wanted to be a writer, which I had refused to admit to myself because I was so afraid of failing at it. Then I just sort of said, well, there was a moment, it's actually in the War of Art, where I just sort of realized the way you get there is one step at a time, like an alcoholic, one day at a time, and that it was a process that could be demystified. It wasn't airy-fairy waiting for inspiration. It was just sit the fuck down, put a piece of paper in a typewriter, and start, and then do that the next day and do it the next day. And the other aspect for me was I had no choice that anytime I would try to stop and try to sell out, I was like so depressed so I just had no choice to just keep going. But it was before I wrote The War of Art, I probably had been writing for at least 30 years, or at least trying to do that. That book came out in about 2 months, just because it was so clear in my mind that that's what I had been fighting all these years.
Did you find that putting it down on paper helped you?
Very much, because it became very clear to me.
Like a law almost.
Yeah.